Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast. And we are joined by, honestly, one of the most accomplished female gridiron players in Australia. She's played for the New South Wales Coyotes, Central Coast Sharks. She's even won an Opal Bowl in 2017. Her name is Alia Karmali. Thank you for joining us today.
Alia's peak fitness is due to the hard work she does in training with her strength and conditioning instructor, Matt, from One More Rep Performance. So for all of your strength and conditioning and all those sort of needs, head to Matt at One More Rep Performance and be sure to send an inquiry via their Instagram page.
Thanks for having me, CJ.
No worries. Let's get stuck into it. First of all, how has your day been today and what have you been up to?
My day's been pretty average at the moment. I'm sort of off work. I normally train as a GP registrar, and because of the possible me going overseas, I've taken some time off, and I'm just training at the moment to prepare for San Diego. So this morning, woke up, went to my physio, finally got cleared to sprint. I've had a bit of a Achilles tendinopathy for the last 6 days.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 days was first sprint workout, which was really nice, and it went well. So
well, that's
happy
good
to be running again.
That's good to hear. And as you just alluded to, you are heading over to San Diego to play in more or less, you could say, professional gridiron or professional football in the women's league for San Diego Tridents. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So San Diego Tridents are right now affiliated with the WFLA, which is a Women's Football League Association, which is the first professional women's gridiron competition or league, I guess.
So like the NFL for women sort of thing.
Sort of. I think so. I don't know if it's obviously a different scale because it's a new thing and it's getting women from all over the world, but it's the first of its kind.
So you've signed with the San Diego Tridents as a tight end. Different position compared to quarterback. You know, how did you find them? How did they find you? And, you know, what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, so I heard about them from my now future teammate, Pierre Pritchard. So she had already signed with them, I think, earlier that last year. And she was the one that I think we were hanging out during COVID times, was doing a bit of training when we could only go, meet one other person out and work out.
Yep.
And so she would tell me about her journey and her story and signing with them and what the league, what was the league about and that sort of stuff. And I think I remember hearing it being like, oh, look, that's something that would be really interesting. Don't really know if it's in the right time in my life. And a few of the other girls in the league also got signed to teams. The couple of the Raiders girls are all going to the Las Vegas Devils in the same league. So I think when I heard of that too, I'm like, look, this is something that I should look into and potentially, put my name forward. What would be the harm in sending film and seeing what happens? And that's where it kind of happened. I made up a film reel and sent it off to all the owners in the league. And San Diego was the one, found out that I had reached out to the head coach on social media, which I know
sounds a bit unprofessional, but
we connected now.
Exactly.
Didn't respond to my email, so let me just.
Well, hey, you gotta make your opportunities happen, and if it means you gotta do it that way.
Persistence is definitely an advantage. But yeah, so I found him on social media, and so we connected there. He'd watched my film. He said, "Hey, let's get you in touch with our owners and the captains and then that week I signed with the team and sort of since then it's been incredible because we as a team, it's the girls coming onto this team are just the level is insane. You watch their videos and I think that we're definitely stacked as a team in terms of some of the talent.
Well, there's a reason it'll be professional.
Defensive ends I'm gonna have to come across in training. I'm going to die. It's impressive. And the coaching staff is so even today getting texts about asking positional questions and we've got a very active and very loving team in terms of the captains. The leaders are just incredible. The owners have put in so much work. It's they're so accessible, but also you can see they're really busting to help us get over there and to make this opportunity for us.
For
so
sure.
A lot of credit to the owners that have put in so much work to making sure that whatever happens, we have backup plans to backup plans, making sure we have the facilities that will really give us that professional experience. And I can't speak enough about Coach Duncan McCallum. He's been phenomenal over the last year. He's held this team together. I think he's in Texas right now, so they're going through the whole freeze. But even in that, still
Texas has actually frozen over.
Yeah, it has. A lot of them are in their cars and houses are shut, and it's really kind of nuts.
It's kind of scary a little bit.
One day I was in Texas and it snowed and the roads were closed and the whole town stopped. I mean, this is obviously times 10 and worse, but. I don't think they use the cold.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll definitely
I'm just really impressed by the organization. And, obviously it's really challenging because we are waiting for details, but, you just have that trust in the coaches and the leadership that they're doing everything they can. They're really pushing hard for us to go. And I could not be more happy with the team that I ended up with. And Priya and I have obviously had a lot of chance to talk with her. She played for the North Sydney Rebels, so they won the Opal Bowl.
Yeah,
this year.
They did against the Raiders.
So, against the Raiders. That's right. So she's on that team and leads that team, and she's a phenomenal athlete. So even like someone that I've always looked up to in the local league, getting to play with her will be a really good experience. So I'm excited.
Sure.
I think it's a good group, and it's sort of I think it'll be more about the experience and the team you play for than anything else. And you want to make sure that vibe and that culture is there early on. And you could just get the sense that everyone's really committed to the process. So I'm excited.
For sure. Exactly. And to anyone, any woman, any guy, whomever is listening to this or, watching this wherever you guys are listening and getting your fix for this episode, I'll be linking the San Diego Tridents, the WFLA, is that right? Or WFLA?
Right.
Yep. Their official website, any teams that I can find out, like the Las Vegas Devils, all of their links and social media links for every team that I can find will be in the description of this episode for anyone who's interested in finding a team to potentially sign for.
Teams are recruiting, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So make up if this is something that you might be interested in, make up some film, send it off. You just never know what happens, and I think that was my attitude, and it's turned into this amazing opportunity. So
exactly. Well, I'll definitely be going for the San Diego Tridents. So.
Oh yes.
Anyway,
get your baby blue on.
Oh, for sure. And what I'll do, by the way.
I think I got into playing quarterback back in 2017, and I came straight from rugby union where I was inside center, number 12. So I'm very comfortable with running with the ball, and I think even in my first few years, I was known as like more of a running quarterback.
Yeah,
it takes probably years to get good at passing or at least learn the mechanics to be consistent. So initially, I just relied on my run game. And I think that's probably where most of my good film that I sent over to San Diego was from my run game. And
well, I mean, a running quarterback is definitely exactly. Like obviously you signed on as a tight end, but even in the NFL, professional gridiron in general, running quarterback is, in my opinion, a much more skilled quarterback than a passing one. Obviously, there's a lot more intricacies when it comes to reading players and throwing, but it also takes a lot to gain yards as a running quarterback. So. They obviously saw some potential.
I was a bit more physical, in that sense in my position, comfortable running into contact. And I think those kind of things have helped me, I guess, in my last 4 or 5 gridiron years. And I think tight end is a nice step up because it's a bit of a versatile athlete. You really can slot in a couple different roles, and it'll be a good change to use some of that physicality again, as opposed to being, in the pocket and protected.
All of Alia's sports nutrition is provided to her by Milestone Strength. They help her with understanding what her body needs for the sports and for high-octane sports that she also competes in. So be sure to go through Milestone Strength if you yourself need sports nutrition and or just help with getting the right diet for your exercise routine. They have an Instagram, Milestone Strength.
So I'm looking forward to the switch over.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. And obviously, as you said, with tight end, it can, even make you end up becoming like a wide receiver and trying different receiving positions, which will be really good for you. And you just mentioned you played a bit of rugby union before you got into gridiron. Did you play any other sports, including rugby union, before you found, your love?
Yeah, so I was one of these multi-sport athletes, I guess, growing up. I loved sports. So I grew up playing ice hockey and basketball, being from Canada. I even played soccer for most of my childhood. And I think playing all those sports, having, general athleticism, I never obviously played like super high level, probably more rep was the highest I went for things. But yeah, no, I think all those skills kind of combined and kind of naturally worked well. I really grew up on the ice, in Canada, ice hockey sort of our rugby. So I grew up doing that. And I think I was always kind of compared as a very physical player just because of maybe my size or the fact that I was a bit more aggressive. And that's transitioned well to contact sport where you can actually do that as a good outlet and enjoy it. So.
No, that's
being
totally
aggressive
fair.
Is actually like, a very, a strong point. So.
Oh, 100%. And you did mention just before that, going from the switch from being a doctor to gridiron, you're taking time off from GP registrar training. How long have you been a doctor for? And, how are you handling the switch from, I could say, emotional and or, just in general, preparing yourself
to leave doctor sort of life for a bit to follow your dreams in the professional football?
All of Alia's speed and agility is due to the hard work and effort that she puts in at training with her dedicated speed trainer, Dan, from Dhaka Strength and Conditioning. So be sure to go over to Dhaka Strength and Conditioning if you are looking to improve your speed, your agility, and everything to do with it with your high-end type of sports. They have an Instagram, Dhaka Strength and Conditioning.
Yeah, so I've been practicing medicine since 2011. So you do 4 years, like 4 years of an undergrad, 4 years of med school, which I did here in Sydney. And then sort of started after finishing my internship in Sydney around 2011. I just sort of went down multiple different routes and avenues in terms of career choices, not finding quite what I knew what I wanted to do. So I've somehow now figured out sports medicine is where, you know, my passions in both medicine and sport combined. But yeah, no, I think in the last few years when I found Gridiron, I really sort of threw myself into it in terms of a sport and found this sport that I was super passionate about, something that, you know, naturally fit with a lot of the skills and things that I'd learned from other sports and the time of my life where I sort of needed sport. And I was a bit burnt out from medicine too, coming from Canada, like just finishing out of this gruesome surgical training program. I needed a bit of a break from medicine. And I think I found Gridiron at that time when I needed something different as a different outlet and a passion that sort of took me more than I knew that it would. And then the last 4 years, I had these big goals and these big dreams. And medicine almost took a little bit of a sidestep because my attentions were constantly driven that way. I found myself, you know, I'd be working for the Giants, let's say, and then I had the state trainings on Saturdays. And I remember them one time for the Giants, they were like, "We're going to Melbourne. We need you as our doctor." And I was like, can I have that Saturday off? Which nobody in their right mind would take off working with a professional team to go for a state Gridiron training. And I think that's probably where I started to see, you know, my not, I don't know if it's bad decision making, but like
sort
I
of
could see my passion. Yeah, I was being quite torn between the two. Like, how do I not sacrifice career in medicine, but also pursue this dream that I have at the same time? So for the last
then you've
4
kind
years,
of found that perfect middleman of sports medicine.
Yeah, so you do get to stay on the field, maybe not as the athlete, but you get to work with professional athletes. But yeah, no, I think the last 4 years I've been sort of sitting on the fence, trying to be successful in both. And my attention and my love and my passion has all been Gridiron. And as much as family and friends have sort of been like, "No, are you going to finish soon? Are you going to like settle down with your work?"
When are you going to let this dream go? It's like,
never.
Never.
Like, you know, you're getting to that age where, you know, maybe time to start focusing on work. And I think everyone's very supportive of it, but at the same time, like I was very much deviating from the path that all my colleagues are not. They've all got family, kids, they've all, you know, finished their training.
Man, well, you're like, I will ride this until like I've exhausted all options of this possible
I think
career.
I've checked the boxes, the life boxes, the dreams have been done, and then I can come back and be throw myself back into medicine. Because the half and half is really tough to do, and I think a lot of women in sports struggle with that. Is that you're paying to play, you're putting your body on the line, especially contact sport. You probably have a job on the side or, you know, career that you're, you know, working towards.
Or even if they don't, they're a mum, you know, and they're busy being a mum.
Yeah, and kids too. Or a partner that's, you know, they've got a demanding job that they have to balance with. So as a female in sports, getting, you know, sort of that opportunity to be in a paid position where you can actually use that as your job, it's something that I never thought I'd see in this lifetime. And the opportunity came or sort of presented itself. And
well, as I say, you've got to take every opportunity you can.
Yeah. But I've already put all my attention anyways. I'm already like, you know, straddling the fence. Might as just pick a side. So
exactly.
Here we are.
As I say, you've got to take every opportunity as it comes. You know, you'd be stupid not to take it, you know, and you've taken it, which is great. When do you jet off for San Diego?
That is the question.
Oh.
So we were supposed to start our training camp in February 15.
Okay.
But unfortunately, just with the training camp facility that we're meant to be working out of, they've got teams already there that they're so it's a bit kind of in transition, waiting for that facility to open up for us to go.
Okay.
And then obviously there's stuff like, you know, the travel that Australia has to allow you to go, which should be fine.
And also COVID and all that sort of stuff.
COVID and getting a work visa, which of course, you know, it takes time. So there's lots of little moving parts. But I'm pretty hopeful because I'm Canadian that I can actually go. I don't really need a visa.
Yeah, it should be relatively easier. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I still need the work visa to be able to actually make an income. So
yeah, of course.
There's a little bit of there's the question mark of when. It should be hopefully in the next month.
Oh, cool.
We're sort of being patient and just trying to control focus on the controllables because I know that the weight game has been a bit tough on a lot of people who've obviously taken time off work. Like my apartment, I have to leave here in 2 weeks and So it's a bit of a juggle, but I'm just sort of keeping positive and enjoying the time to train and rehab my Achilles before I go. And
Alia is a proud brand ambassador for women's football clothing line No Joke Football. So be sure to head to their website or their Instagram, etc. for dope clothing lines. And, you know, anytime they drop a new item of clothing, head over to No Joke Football on Instagram. That's honestly really good. Obviously, talking about your club level games for Gridiron in Australia, you've played for UTS Gators, UNSW Raiders, and my local team, Central Coast Sharks. You won the 2017 Super Bowl, Opal Bowl, more or less the Super Bowl, the Opal Bowl. And, you know, you've just recently become captain. Well, not recently, but like the last season and a bit. With the Central Coast Sharks, you were named captain. You know, what was it like going from club to club? You know, and you know all the differences and nuances. You know, and all that sort of stuff. And which club do you feel really benefited your you could say career or development the most?
Okay. I guess it's a really long-winded question, but yeah, no, I started off. So I used to play for Waverley Rugby Union Club back in 2017. So I came straight from Canada, landed, next day went to training, and I met some incredible people. One of them, who I ended up living with, was playing Gridiron for UNSW Raiders at the time. So she was like, "Come to a training, check it out." And because, you know, I was like, "Oh, why not? You know, I'll just come, give it a go." And instantly loved it. I remember the Raiders being a very professional club. Dane Robertson, who's the head coach, he's a phenomenal coach, really took the time to foster my skills and help me as this brand new quarterback coming in. And the girls themselves were, you know, some girls who played for the Outback for the Australian team. So the level, and they've won 2 championships before I even got there. So the level of the team and the expectations of the team were quite high. So I really loved that there was that element of, we were a competitive team from day one. Everyone is very committed to winning a championship. And coming in, it was challenging, like being a rookie quarterback and not having the past skills that, you know, you'd hope to have right away, and learning a new sport. But I found that the coaching was phenomenal, and the platform really gave me a chance that season to excel. And we did win the Opal Bowl. I think I scored like 3 rush touchdowns that game.
Wow.
And had like I had one of the best games I probably have had to date.
Had a blinder, as they say. Yeah, wow.
No, it was really, really good. And so I'm always really proud of that game and that season, because I think it was a big thing to step into. And
the fact it was your first season and you did all of those accomplishments.
But I think it's the coaching and the level of competition in that club that they exuded was sort of what I needed at that stage. You know, you kind of want to come in and really be groomed. And I think Dane Robertson, the coach there, just did a phenomenal job of sort of giving you that platform. And then I had a lot of, you know, there were some girls there that were really supportive and really, you know, helped, you know, boost me up when I needed it. So, and then we had the Coyote season right after that. Again, Dane was the head coach, and that's the New South Wales competition. And so there was myself and Rachel O'Sullivan, who was the starting quarterback at the time. And the two of us became best friends. We're still best friends today. Through that whole experience of just bonding over the New South Wales team and going to nationals.
And competing for that quarterback starting spot.
Yeah, look, she has the arm. She's the Tom Brady, and I was more the runner quarterback. So we kind of complemented each other well. But we also just grew as friends because we, you know, didn't want to make it about this catty, you know, the typical girls fighting over a girl's spot. Like, let's support each other. Let's see each other.
Like you're good
let's make each other better at the same time.
Exactly. You're good at the running, so you help her with the running, and she's good at the passing. She helps you with the passing, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we just complement each other's personality as well. Because we both decided very early on that we're just going to support each other. What's best for the team will be if we both play our best.
Yeah, exactly.
And us trying to compete. I mean, it's hard. Like, it obviously was a mental battle because, you know, you do want the spotlight, and I'm super competitive. So took some self-growth along the way, but I think at the end, you know, we get to nationals and I had a chance to sort of work my playing time because we lost a couple of running backs. So I had to fill in as running back. I think I played tight end as well. And then eventually I got to start as quarterback in the bronze final and be a captain for the day for that game. So it was kind of nice to see all that hard work and that groundwork put in, and I finally got to get the goal that I wanted. And then after that season, there was, you know, a lot of the Raiders weren't going to have, like, Dane took a season off coaching, and the Raiders weren't going to have a women's team. So a majority of them actually went to Sydney New Lions.
Well, they're a bloody foundation club, more or less. Like,
correct, and they won an Opal Bowl that year as well. So I mean, they were a very competitive club. I just made that decision up for myself and the girls that I bonded with during the state campaign, and then, you know, Coach Bryce, who had really, I found, was a bit more of a mentor for me in that transition time. So I decided to go to UTS and give that team a go. We had a really, really tough season. Just hard with numbers, just, that's always the game with women's sports. And it just we never really took off in terms of our performance as a team. And I think it just came down to numbers being an issue, and just, didn't have everything, all the pieces together. So that was actually a really tough year. But I got, at the same time, Bryce really helped me a lot develop that pass game. Like, he threw a lot of pass plays in there, even though I wasn't really performing that well. You look at some of that film and you're like, cringe, like, wish I was as good as I am now. But no, so that was a tough season. And then after that, actually, that's when I got into GP training up here in the coast. And that was where I was going to be sort of stationed at, guess if you say, Central Coast Hunter Manning.
Yep.
And Rachel actually lives up here. So we just were like, I remember telling her, I'm like, oh, look, I've got this position for GP training on Central Coast. And she's like, you come here, we'll start a team.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do it. So we sort of, got the ground running, and they were very open to having a women's team.
Well, yeah, they already had a men's team. I don't know if the men's team is still a team at the moment, or it may now be a team again. But at the time,
they're working on a team for next season.
Okay, absolutely. Sweet. Yeah, because I was going to say
they didn't have a team last year, and they didn't have a team this season.
That's right. Yeah, I know that there was a few years. I know also 2019, they didn't have a team, and I was like, hang on, what? Because as you know, the Toss family, very integral in Australian gridiron, let alone Central Coast gridiron. My mate Rhett played for the Central Coast Sharks all the way through when we were at school and all that. And then when I hear they're not a team anymore with the men's, I'm like, what? But it's good to see.
They struggled with a bit for numbers. A lot of the players had wanted to take some advantage of some Sydney Uni teams or Sydney teams in general. So a lot of the talent had sort of moved south, and it did sort of, and I think there was, Peter PT senior had retired as a coach as well. So there was a lot of transition that happened around that time. But by the sounds of it, this season, there's quite a lot of boys that want to come back.
Yeah.
It's looking really promising.
Which would be good.
We hope that we'll get a men's team back up and running. Because I think to have a club, and just to rely on like a brand new women's team, it's hard to build that foundation as a club and have that culture and that feel of a club when it just
need to have as many teams as possible, to really foundation.
Even just from coaching resources, or just even from the standard of training practices, like you want to have that mix of men and women to bring up the standards. So I'm looking forward to hopefully coming back, and there'll be a men's team in the mix and these big trainings. So
yeah,
it should be good. So then that took me to last year, where I moved to the Central Coast. Rachel and I became roommates for about 6 months before she again left me for the Army. But we started this team together, and it was actually a really successful year for our first year. Struggled with numbers. We had like a big kind of roster at the beginning, and then half due to injury, just the unluckiness of contact sport. But yeah, we had a good go. We had a really competitive team, and this year we actually came third, made it to the semis. And
wow.
Really well. Yeah, we recruited all these soccer girls who are super fast.
Especially given that, and especially given the Sydney-based university teams that have scholarships and shit, for teams, like UNSW. I'm not saying they necessarily have scholarships in general. I'm just saying they have the foundations and they have the men's teams to find out you guys finished third. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a description before the first and second team. You can see they've got a lot of vets on their team, like 10 plus vets that have been playing a bit longer, that bring again that sort of professionalism standard of the team. And then you have sort of teams that are still struggling with numbers or have a lot of rookies, and it's sort of we're sort of somewhat in the middle right now. And I think, but because of the level of talent in our team, half our team being rookies, I think give us a couple year or two, and we'll be definitely out there.
No, 100%. They'll definitely be Opal Bowl contenders for sure.
That's the plan.
Well, fingers crossed. Switching to your training days and, pre-game sort of stuff, do you have any rituals or routines that may not necessarily be the norm? Like, do you have certain ways you have to put on your socks and your boots, or, do you have to be like the first one out onto the field, anything like that?
I've always liked to be, especially at training and practices, I like to be the first one there. I don't know what it is, just to kind of get my head right. Sort of take my time getting ready, but also warm up my arm and throw the bowl around, just to kind of, be the first one there, last one off kind of thing has always been my sort of personal mantra. I like to work. That's a goal of mine in any sport or any team I played, is to be the hardest working player on the team. And that starts with showing up early, leaving last to leave. Setting that sort of, this is the standard I'm setting for myself.
Yeah.
In terms of game, probably a bit more relaxed on the other side, is to kind of get there, do some shoulder warm-ups, Same, I try to warm up with my receivers really early on and just get them in the headset, get them in the mindset. We've been really lucky this year that we had phenomenal receivers. One of them is actually going over to the States as well, to the LA famed. Yeah, it's Sarika Shillingsworth. So she came to us from Sydney and was playing with the Lions the last 2 years and came to play for the Sharks. So she's traveling to train with us.
Wow.
And so she's actually been selected for the WFLA as well. But she,
for the Tridents or for a different team?
For the Los Angeles Fames.
Oh, wow. So you'll be going up against a teammate possibly.
Potentially, if it all goes to plan. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going with this. But yeah, just getting into, we've got really good receivers and trying to get their hands ready, feel those connections early. So this year we've actually had a really strong pass offense, which has been unique for the women's league. A lot of them tend to be very run heavy, whereas I'd say we're probably 50-50, if not a little bit more pass heavy. Which is kind of nice to have that
edge sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So part of it is kind of getting my head just clear and getting those connections. I don't think I have any sort of clothing or routines with my boots or socks. Definitely some good pump up music on the drive there.
Okay. What's your go-to pump up song?
I think more hip hop, 90s hip hop stuff that I used to remember playing basketball to, or just, yeah, nothing, things that I know the lyrics to, but nothing too heavy.
Yep. I getcha.
Just find a good playlist and just put it on and just kind of stay nice and relaxed. I used to get a lot more nervous playing for games, and it's nice in the last couple of years just to relax a bit more and just enjoy game day.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Done all the hard work, so now you just have to show up and play your best, really.
No, that's fair. And I mean, we've talked previously in the last week and a bit-ish, and everyone will probably be itching to know which team in the NFL and in the college football do you follow? So which teams would be the right word?
So my NFL team that I follow would be the Seattle Seahawks. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. I think back in the day when someone's like, you need to find, some of a position that you inspire to. And I think remembering looking up running quarterbacks and Russell Wilson popping up. And then I just remember
we've got Renee Target coming on, and she follows the Seahawks as well.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's very good. There's a few of us that love it. Yeah, it is fine. And I remember watching this interview he did with Gridiron and just talking about just his resilience as an athlete, and I don't know, something just spoke to me. So I would say I'm a Russell Wilson Seahawks fan. Love DK Metcalf. He's had a huge year. And then my college team would probably be the Oregon Ducks, because I remember also watching a lot of their film when I was studying read option as a quarterback. And I like watching that and being like, oh, look, that's exactly the kind of, offense that I gear more towards.
Okay, cool. Well, as you can obviously tell, I'm a Packers fan. To anyone who's listening and or watching, I am definitely a massive cheesehead. But when it comes to college football, I didn't really get into college football until about 2 years ago. I've been following the Packers since roughly about 2009-ish, like a few years before they won the Super Bowl. And then, so still a devout fan. And I was like, I found out that college football is, if not probably more popular in America than the NFL. Yeah. So I was like,
I think it's probably cheaper and easier to get to.
Yeah.
And it's college towns, and it's
I was like, I should probably get into that. So I was like, right. The way I decided it was I should probably do it as unbiased as I possibly can. So I was like, right, I'll watch as much of it as I can. And whichever team wins that year's the college championships, is the team that I'll follow. And I think it was Alabama, or they were in the final, and I just liked how they played anyway. So yeah, I was just like, right, that's the most unbiased way that I could think of, so, and I really like the way they play. I like the style, and I love the rivalry between them, and I can't remember Ohio State. The rivalry between them over the last few years, I'm like, because I could have easily gone with Ohio State.
Latch on to for sure. A good rivalry, team rivalry is good.
Exactly. And honestly,
especially if you have friends who like the other team too.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, my friend, he passed away now, but he did follow Ohio State. So it's like, kind of wish I'd have got into college football before he'd passed away, because then we could have that rivalry, But that's enough about me. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. Do you follow the Canadian Football League? And if so, do you have a team, or, what are your thoughts on the Canadian Football League compared to the NFL?
Unfortunately, I don't really follow the CFL. I'm from Edmonton, so the Edmonton Eskimos are probably the team that I would lean into, just because that's my hometown.
Team. Yep.
But I've actually never been to a CFL game, and I had been to, I think, a Cowboys game in Dallas back in 2011, like when also was there when the Super Bowl was there. But I hadn't been to a lot of football or been exposed to a lot of football growing up. even though it's in North America and it being such a prominent sport, I didn't really pick onto it until I got
of ice
to
hockey.
Australia.
Yeah, that makes more
Because
sense.
of ice hockey, and I had other sports that I was probably following a bit more religiously.
Okay, well,
But
which
coming
team
to
do you follow in
Australia, I
the
started
NHL?
playing the sport. I wanted to watch it more. So
That's fair. And do you have a team in the NHL?
I do. The Edmonton Oilers, again, home team.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But big McDavid fan, and yeah, I'm really happy that they're doing so well.
So to wrap up this episode, we've got 2 last questions. First one is Tom Brady the GOAT quarterback of all time? And if not, who do you think is?
I have to say, even though I respect Tom Brady in terms of how much he's like, you watch him in his early years and how much he was doubted, and then now in his late 40s and still winning Super Bowls. So I'd have to say, yes, he's the GOAT and the greatest of all time. Because really not many players or athletes have actually reached his level of, success, and at such a late age as well.
And then do it with another club.
Centuries almost.
Exactly, and then to go
decades.
Yeah, exactly, and then to
we'll delete that part, but yeah, for decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive, and watching his journey as an athlete and as well as in the sport and how he's changed it. I think that's, you can't, not too many people can go and look back and say who played football and made such a mark.
The real test for him will be if he can get the Dallas Cowboys or the Raiders Super Bowl win, because he's done it with Tampa Bay.
Somewhere else, so this becomes
exactly. Just wins it for every team, because he was very successful, as you know, with the Patriots, and then first season at the Buccaneers wins the Super Bowl. So it's like, maybe the
I think he had
Cowboys
a good combination of players as well.
Oh, he did, especially with Gronkowski coming from the Patriots with him.
Believe it or not, last year, my friend Rachel and I, we were in Miami. We didn't actually get into the Super Bowl, but we were there for the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And we went to the Gronk Beach House party, which was really crazy.
Wow.
So, oh no. Oh, sorry. Sorry, my screen went black. But yeah, no, we went to the beach house party. So we were like, within a fence away from Gronk at that time.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy 1 year later, seeing him on the screen scoring touchdowns.
Well, how many? I think he scored 2, didn't he, in the Super Bowl?
He did. Yeah. He scored 2 ones.
Wow, honestly, that's amazing. And last,
that to be one of my favorite tight ends for sure. But I don't know if that's because I went to his party or not.
I mean, either way,
it plays a factor. There's that. I've not met you, but I've been within the same, couple
vicinity
meters
of it. Exactly. Yeah. And last topic is, what advice would you give to any young girls who are aspiring to make it in professional sports, whether it's gridiron or rugby or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a new age for female sports, and it's something that we've waited a really long time. And I say we, but I mean in general, women in sport have waited a really long time to have those professional opportunities. At any age, I think my advice to them would be just to really set your dreams high, to work really, really hard, and not sort of let the people that will laugh at you behind your back or tell you that it's not the right move for you, or to focus on things like career and family, which are important. And yes, obviously, if those are your priorities, stay on top of them. But if sport is the dream, to sort of at some stage make that leap over into
the really, sacrifice sort of thing, you could say.
Yeah, push yourself in that dynamic. If that's what you really want, and be really true to what you really want. And if sport is something that you see yourself or dream or aspire to play professionally, you can do it at any age. Maybe in certain sports you peak, but in gridiron, it's one of these sports that a lot of women or a lot of girls pick up quite late. And it'd be nice to see.
Well, I mean, look at Tom Brady. He's 40 and he's still doing it,
Yeah, I mean, he is a quarterback, so
that's
maybe there's
true.
more longevity in that position.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's just like, I would love to see more girls get into the sport with the idea of, I potentially could play for my country or I could play professionally, which I don't think there's a lot of avenues in other sports. And the fact that there is now in this sport, it's huge. And it's huge at any age, not just little girls, but also women of all ages. Like, this is your time to maybe live out that life dream that you always had. And I know that's what latched me to gridiron specifically, is I saw myself going these pathways of playing internationally or playing for my country. And this was a sport that, I had athleticism that went over quite nicely that I could push myself for. So push hard, like work hard, be the hardest worker, completely give into that passion, and you may have to sacrifice things along the way for it, but it'll be worth it, and to not lose sight of the goal, really. And I think be humble as well. The biggest thing I learned in the last 4 years is that you really have to sort of learn a lot about yourself. I don't know if it's gridiron in specific, it's probably all sport, but gridiron really made me learn a lot more about myself and to have that bit of growth in terms of, helping other teammates out and not always having to be the star of the show, having, coaches and respecting them, and also learning that they're those relationships itself. So, and friendships as well. There's so much to learn in sport, but I think that's the biggest thing is stay humble, stay hungry, and just, go after what you love.